Welcome in, everybody. Oh my God. I think I figured out the case. I think I figured out the case. And I think other people are figuring things out too with everything that went down yesterday. Crazy. Good morning, everybody, by the way. I hope you're doing well. It is Tuesday, April 7th, 8:04 a.m. And wow, yesterday was a doozer. Savannah went back to the Today Show. I released a clip on that. Boom. After she returns, TMZ gets another note. I refer to it as a ransom note, which was probably the wrong term. Thank you, Karen, from the interview room. And not only does TMZ release a note, Ashley Banfield then confirms that the FBI believed that two of those notes, and did believe two of those notes were real, which I've said all along. Like, I guess I'm confused as to why people didn't think they believed they were real, because I said, why would they put the family up there through that torture of talking to a kidnapper, not once, twice, if they didn't believe they were real? So yesterday was explosive. So we're going to get into it, and I'm going to walk you through how the pieces all came together for me yesterday. OMG. Let's listen to some clips. I'm going to lay it out a little bit for you through the clips, and then I'll piece it together. Oh God, before we continue on, I just want to say my heart is really aching for Savannah. I can't imagine. And everybody talked about how phenomenally well she did yesterday on her first day back. That woman is so courageous, inspiring, strong, faithful. I cannot. The professionalism is outstanding, but I am a little bit worried about her. And, interestingly enough, Ashley did a video yesterday and she was like, well, what's going to happen if something happens to the case, and how are they going to handle that? In her earlier video yesterday with a gentleman she interviewed who used to work with her back at the Today Show and at NBC. And boom, we get this. I don't know how she's going to go through with today, other than, this one's a little different because this isn't the notes that the FBI believe were real. There's three sets of notes, if you will, just to recap. There's the one from the guy out in California that texted Annie and Tommaso, and they had a conversation, I guess, for 9 minutes about did they get the ransom money yet, and he's been under arrest. And while everybody thinks that's bogus, and it's just very coincidental, but leave that one aside. We have the two that the Guthrie family, I also said were real, went forward with talking to the kidnappers, with that note that they received. They went public. And then we've got this collection, if you will, from this person that claims that they want Bitcoin because they know where Nancy is. And that's what came out yesterday. And so I had posted on my community post, ransom. It's not really a ransom. It's like, give me some Bitcoin and I'll tell you where her body is. I mean, yeah. Now, I just want to say everybody's commenting about why they wouldn't take the $1 million. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I guess I have a very hard time understanding what they don't understand about that. Like, what do you people that keep saying there's $1 million out there not get about somebody who probably has a criminal past, who said he had a criminal past, who doesn't trust the FBI, who's going to be arrested for concealing evidence? If this was true, should this be true, this person sending these letters to TMZ, if he's known all along and Nancy was alive, then he should have called the FBI immediately, not asking for ransom. I think we could agree with that. That's called withholding evidence or accessory to a crime, when you withhold evidence. So why would he call in the tip line and say, I've got Nancy? He's cooked, because whether these are fake or not, if they're fake, it's clearly criminal. And if he knew all along and could have prevented the death of Nancy, because he says, time is imminent, as we're going to hear, and then the next day, well, it's too late, she's deceased. That's a crime too. So I'm perplexed as to why everybody thinks this person should go for the $1 million. The $1 million is jail. They have so far not been able to track the Bitcoin accounts. We've all heard that. Hence why the guy wants the Bitcoin. And I guess the Bitcoin would go farther in Mexico if you're living underground. So it's not a lot of money. I get it. And I understand this is suspicious. But what I don't understand is the logic of everybody out there continually saying this is bogus because the guy's not calling in the tip for the $1 million. They've already said they don't trust the FBI. They have a criminal past. They're not in the same country, allegedly, potentially. Like, I just, anyway, I'm off my soapbox. Let's listen. It just is bewildering to me. It's just bewildering. Listen into this. We're going to keep going.
As promised, Savannah Guthrie is back on the job. She is at today, and she was actually on the air when they started the show this morning. Remember, she had been back to visit them once during the last 2 months while she was dealing with her mother's disappearance. But this was the first time she went on the air, and everyone was watching to figure out what was her mood going to be? How could she handle this?
Would she talk about it?
Would she talk about it? This is how they started the day.
Pretty shot of the sun coming up. Good morning. Welcome to today on this Monday morning. We are so glad you started your week with us, and it is good to be home.
Yes, it is good to have you back at home.
Well, here we go. Ready or not?
Yeah.
Let's do the news.
Yes, so good to have you back. All right, those folks out on the plaza to welcome back our dear friend.
Yay. Some beautiful signs out there.
There's been signs for so long. They're going to be so excited to see
I'm
them.
excited to see them. Give them all a hug. Been really feeling the love so much.
Welcome back.
Good to be back.
Great to have you.
You know what struck me about this? Her dress,
Yellow?
which is the idea of coming
Spring
home.
and,
No, coming home. Like yellow ribbons.
I thought of it more as sort of a new beginning of spring.
I'm thinking of it as yellow ribbons.
You went with Tony Orlando
He
and
went
Dawn
Tony
when they
Orlando
tied a
and
yellow
Dawn.
ribbon around
But
the old oak tree to
I
invite
went
back the soldiers.
Christian
No, that's
Easter.
not
I don't want to trivialize it because that's actually become a thing too with missing people,
without question.
with wearing yellow. So that really struck
It's also a sunny color. I mean, she does seem as upbeat as you can be. She's delivering the news. It's obviously extraordinarily difficult. She was out there for part of it with Jenna Bush Hager, and she was clutching her hand in the beginning, looking at all of this.
When they went outside.
The outpouring of
Right.
love. She was holding her hand the whole time and looking at the signs. It's hard to feel anything but warmth over this.
Good. She's
What an inspirational woman. Look at her. Look at her. I couldn't do it. I can tell you that I couldn't do it. But I pray she's going to be as enthusiastic today because I don't know. It seems to me like the person sending these notes that we're going to keep listening about the note right now just is taunting. Is taunting. I'm not saying they're not real. In fact, I think this might be some legitimacy to this person's notes, and Harvey Levin thinks so too. But let's keep listening now. Let's listen in now.
to you. The person who has been incessantly contacting us,
Although
saying,
it stopped for a while.
stop for a while. We got another letter today from this person, an email saying, I know where her body is and who the kidnapper is. Give me half a Bitcoin and I'll tell you. And this person has been really persistent, knowing that if it's a scam, it's a federal crime.
Right. But they also made the point that they wanted to make it clear that they have nothing to do with it.
Right.
They've been out of the country, but who knows?
We forwarded
Again, we forwarded to the FBI,
Right.
as we have in the past.
Right.
And for whatever reason, and this is the thing we haven't figured out, you have to assume that the law enforcement, they believe that this person is not legit. Otherwise, they would have advised Savannah to pay the money.
Can we just be really transparent?
Uh-huh.
I think you're right that the law enforcement doesn't. There's
I
something.
just can't figure out why.
Well, why not take a
something-
flyer? The price of Bitcoin is much lower now. These are like, you can just take a flyer and see what the person knows. The most you lose is 20 grand, 25 grand.
I'll tell you why. My spidey senses tell me that there's something about this guy, because one of the emails he sent said early on, time is of the essence to do this. And then the next day he said, time is no longer of the essence. If he was pulling a scam, why would you say time is no longer of the essence?
Right. You want to keep the value
You
high.
want to keep
of
the
their
value
information.
high.
Yeah.
And the fact that he said this made me think, this guy knows something.
Yeah, it's a way to look on this as
and
well, though.
I'm not, look,
Right.
I'm
We
not
don't
FBI.
have- we don't
I
have
don't
to
know.
all the information they are, but
You're talking
just
about
from the
psychology,
outside
yeah.
looking in, it sure seems like this person knows something.
Okay. Okay, I promised I'm going to weave my theory into these video clips. And so I am going to do that. This is going to be a longer video, though, because so much is going down. Listen to this. We've got Matt Murphy in as a guest with Elizabeth Vargas. Listen in.
For more on where the case stands, we're joined now by former homicide prosecutor Matt Murphy. Okay, you've got so much experience on all of this. What is your best instinct telling you? What are your sources in law enforcement telling you about where the investigation stands and what might have happened?
Well, the investigation is going nowhere fast. And the thing is that it could be anything. It really could be anything. There are, look, leadership matters. And unfortunately, tragically, this is a case where leadership has failed not only the Guthrie family, but I think the entire voting bloc of.
The sheriff has had a no confidence vote by his own rank and file, unanimous. And one sheriff's deputy from Pima County told me this wasn't even the first no confidence vote.
Right. I worked a murder case out of Newport Beach with the Pima County Sheriff's Department in 2004, and they were absolutely outstanding. They were top drawer law enforcement all the way. I don't know what's happened, but this is clearly the family deserves better here. So do the voters of Pima County, and it's important to mention it does not stop with Chris Nanos. There's
that's the sheriff.
That's the sheriff. The top law enforcement official is a woman named Laura Conover. She's the district attorney. And when you see a sheriff's department going out with Bearcats and SWAT teams to detain Uber Eats drivers that turn out to have nothing to do with it, that's an investigation that's in my view, that's performative, that's out of control. And if you, based on inexperience, have some sheriff's deputy who kicks a door in and you find Mrs. Guthrie, or you find a body, or you find critical evidence, all of that is getting suppressed because the DA herself is not involved in any way that we've been able to see. Vertical prosecution is very important because it marries the prosecuting agency with the detectives. And remember,
just to point out, when you were a prosecutor in Orange County and you prosecuted homicides there for more than a decade, all of them successfully, you were on the scene of every murder scene. You were one of the first people there so that you could assess the evidence. But we have not seen this DA be involved in any way in this case.
No, we haven't. And the thing is that every murder case, it's like what they say about Mount Everest. Climbing to the top is only half of it. You got to get back down again. Catching the person or figuring out what happened is only part of it. The most important part in a lot of ways is then successfully prosecuting the case, which means decisions have to be made now correctly and in conformity with the United States Constitution, so evidence doesn't get suppressed and the defense doesn't have a field day. And that is the DA's fault. That's Laura Conover in conjunction with Chris Nanos. So right now he's getting all the heat. She's escaping too much of the spotlight, in my opinion.
Okay. So yeah, I wanted to show that part of it because it's so important. Because the bumbling part that happened at the beginning, and no shade to the inexperienced homicide detectives who don't even want to be there. The guy that came on Brian Anton's interview, no shade to them, okay? But it's really an important part of this case, this leadership, this why we're here still today, this lack of evidence is really because of the critical first few hours that were misstepped, in my opinion. But what I want you to really pay attention to is when Elizabeth asks Matt Murphy what he thinks happened. And then we're going to go into more of my theory and why I think I figured it out.
You have a theory about what might have happened based on some conversations you've had. I know it's just a theory, but I'm curious what it is.
Well, I've talked to other prosecutors and other homicide, people that are involved in the homicide world as investigators and even judges. And look, this has all the makings of some sort of an money-related interpersonal issue with perhaps somebody that owes her money, or somebody that might get money after she dies. You just don't know. But here's the thing about all murder cases. You have to keep an open mind. And I cannot tell you how many times I walked into a scene where you see one thing and you think it's one thing, and it turns out to be radically something else, which means you have to keep an open mind, which, again, when you have a sheriff who's up there eliminating suspects, saying this person's eliminated and then walking it back, you can't eliminate anybody until
he's only eliminated the family.
But you can't eliminate anybody until you know who did it and you understand what happened.
Super quick. I was struck by.
Did you hear the last bit of what Matt said? And listening to the interview room last night too, it's so phenomenally interesting because I was already going to research this thinking pattern. I was already going to research it because I knew, and I had said to you energetically that I felt like there was some sort of a will, power of attorney, something in a laptop in the bag, the knapsack. Now, I was wrong, I believe now, about a laptop being in that backpack. but the energy, I think I was right about. Now let's listen further as I piece it together some more. Now look at this question from the Veronix, sorry. Out of curiosity, do you know when does life insurance and inheritance is paid out if someone goes missing or is kidnapped? Boom. This is what I was going to research yesterday, although I kind of had a sense of it based on a lot of people being curious about that with Sebastian Rogers. Listen to the answer here, and then we're going to weave where we're going more succinctly.
Help me recall what they had. They said they have video of people, coming and going, people who would normally be at the house. This is prior to the abduction, right?
Yep.
But they were real cagey on whether they had video in the backyard of the night this happened, anything similar to what we have in the front with Porch Guy. Am I wrong?
Nope, you're correct. And what we have is a person is seen from the sheriff. Remember in the press conference, a person is seen.
Right.
Okay, is it a dark shadow? I mean, how do you know it's a person? How do you know it's not a coyote? Blah, 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 right? That was so vague. It was like, this guy's just begging for, people online and people around the world, to say, what the heck? What do you mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Is it the suspect that's seen on the video that you can see? And if so, okay, that's fine. Just say, look, there's a person of interest we believe is the suspect. You can see him barely on the video, but we're not going to release that to the public right now. That's how you answer the question.
Exactly.
It's not rocket science. Okay. You don't go, and there was a person seen. Remember how he did all that stupid, all those gestures? I was like, who is this guy? Okay. Out of curiosity.
Wait, that would be the actor of the year for senior year of high school, actually, which is what we found out.
Oh, that's right. That's exactly right.
The award goes to,
yeah,
the
can't
1965 Best Actor Award
you can't
in
make
high
it up.
school. Unreal.
You can't make it up. And so, out of curiosity, do you know what happens life insurance and inheritance to pay out if someone goes missing or is kidnapped? Yes, you have to show the insurance company that they're no longer with us. There is no,
like a death certificate.
No proof of life, and you have to go to the court, like Dale Warner tried to, most recently
In the D. Warner case,
And
where he killed, he got convicted of killing his wife.
Most recently, he was just convicted, and Billy put together an entire case for just that. Got another law firm involved. And we handed it to Michigan State Police. And we said, look, don't let them get away with this. And they did. And thank goodness Greg, her brother, had the chutzpah to take him on. And now he was just convicted of her murder.
Yay.
But in that case, in the D. Warner case, it took a number of years to legally declare her dead, to get the death certificate. Right, Chris?
Right.
And then they actually were waiting for that in connection and adjacent to the homicide investigation.
Yep. Two parallel tracks.
Yeah.
And we said on this channel, you heard it, the next move will be the house will be sold. The next move. And that will be problematic. The question is which one?
Yes.
The question is which one will be moved? The math is not mathing. They've been over there a couple of times. The family's been in there. They're starting to take boxes out. They're starting to do things. And she's still missing. Presumed deceased. There's a presumption that she's not with us. But then you get a Bitcoin letter today that says, I saw her in Mexico and she's still with us. And now you got to go, well, wait a minute. What the heck does this mean? Is it noise? Is it garbage? And then you've got Savannah going, well, I believe the first two were true. Okay. Well, did law enforcement tell us they were true, or did the family tell us they were true? I want to hear LE, I want to hear somebody from the FBI come out and say, we believe the first two letters were from a legitimate suspect.
Okay. And Ashley Banfield brings Harvey Levin on, who's been talking to the police. And he says, in speaking with the FBI, they believed those were real. Now, walk with me here. He said, and Chris reported, Annie and Tommaso were taking boxes out of the house. And not only that, Nancy Grace reported last night they did not inspect the garage. Like, what the F? They took Nancy's car, but they didn't inspect the garage. We say A&T, and apparently she flipped somebody the bird. According to Josh at the lab, she flipped the bird, probably if Dad's Gone Live or whatever was showing, which Chris showed the clip of Annie and Tommaso taking the boxes out of the house. What is going down? Which of the houses is going to sell? But here's the thing. Think this through with me now. Think this through with me now. Who do you think was behind the letters saying, the second letter, I'm sorry, but she's no longer alive? And why did that letter come in? When Savannah and the two of them siblings were, Cameron and Annie, on either side of her saying, we understand now, but we can't find peace until we basically have her body back. That cryptic second message. Who do you think wrote the letter saying she was deceased now? And was that the declaration that they needed, that she was deceased, so they could A, move into Nancy's and sell their house, or B, sell Nancy's house? Let's think about that. I'm going to show you some more. Let's keep going. I had said that I thought there was a signal, and that signal came after the second letter, but there was also a decision made in between, in my opinion. Listening to Megyn Kelly.
We showed you yesterday clips of Savannah Guthrie's first interview on NBC since her mother, Nancy, went missing nearly 2 months ago now. My gosh, that's crazy. Today is March 27th. Nancy was taken on January 31st. Well, overnight on the wee hours of February 1st. That is so crazy. Unfortunately, we have more questions than answers 2 months later. Like, why didn't the Guthrie family ever pay a ransom if they believed, as Savannah told us yesterday, that 2 of those ransom notes they received were authentic? Why wouldn't they have paid the money? And why did Savannah's military veteran brother immediately think that Nancy was kidnapped for ransom? Immediately, that's where his mind went. Was there something in the second note, this is another question, that made them believe it was fruitless to pay money to the kidnapper? Because they made video statements after each of these notes. And that last question, what was in the second note? And did it suggest something about Nancy that was dark and would have suggested the ransom was fruitless? And that's the question taking new significance this morning. Because one of the X counts that has followed this case the closest, and that we have been following, and that has steered us right more than once in its commentary and leads on the case, is a user who goes by the name Nerdy Addict. And Nerdy, you may recall that because I've cited Nerdy Addict in talking with you guys before. Nerdy Addict writes today, quote, I now have 2 sources confirming that one of the letters sent to the media in the Nancy Guthrie case allegedly states that the sender apologized, claiming that they did not realize how serious Nancy's heart condition was and that she has, quote, gone to be with God. Right? So this is Nerdy claiming that Nerdy's been told by 2 sources that the second ransom note this person was demanding Bitcoin and wrote to Harvey plus 2 local stations, that the second note apologized, saying they didn't realize how serious Nancy's heart condition was and that she has, quote, gone to be with God. Nerdy goes on to write, quote, according to these sources, investigators believe the message came from the same individuals who previously demanded Bitcoin, though this latest letter reportedly made no demands and was framed solely as an apology. While this has been validated, to Nerdy, by 2 independent sources, it has not been publicly released or confirmed by the media. So Nerdy is telling us, and we are telling you, to take it with a grain of salt, put a big old asterisk at the end of it. With all due respect to Nerdy, we don't know Nerdy's agenda. We don't know Nerdy's background. We don't know anything about Nerdy other than the reporting that we've taken from this account with citation so far in this case has all proven to be very sound. So that's why we decided to bring it to you. Here to analyze this is James Hamilton. He's a former FBI supervisory special agent who created the FBI's Close Protection School, which is a specialized training program designed for agents to protect high-level individuals. And Maureen O'Connell, a 25-year veteran of the FBI and co-host of the Best Case, Worst Case podcast. Thank you guys so much for being back on. I want to go through a little bit of the timeline here just to refresh us all and the audience about that second ransom note, right? Nancy was taken on that Sunday, February 1st in the wee hours. That whole week we had ransom notes and we had family responses. And now it seems like ancient history because we're 2 months in. But the ransom note, my team has done the timeline for me. Okay, the first we heard of a ransom note was Tuesday, February 3rd. The first ransom note sent to TMZ and 2 local Tucson stations at 1:12 p.m. The letter demanded $4 million in Bitcoin by Thursday, February 5th, and then $6 million if the payment didn't come before Monday, February 9th. And then, what was in that note? Well, we don't know. All we know is that they made a demand for ransom and they had revealed something about Nancy's clothing or something inside the house, allegedly about her watch and maybe a floodlight on the outside, that convinced investigators that they should take this note seriously. And the family certainly took it seriously because that was the note in response to which we first saw the family come out. The 3 adult children holding hands, Savannah with the no makeup, very, very dark, talk to her and you'll see, saying the things about Nancy. You should get to know her. And in this day of video manipulation, we need to know that you do have her and, that she's alive. So that was after the first one. Then on Thursday, February 5th, authorities confirm those two ransom deadlines. And later that day, KOLD TV Tucson received a second ransom letter at 5:30 p.m. They said there's no deadline in it. The new note, quote, contains something the senders seem to think will prove to investigators that they're the same people who sent the first note. And then in response to that second note, the family came out the following day on Saturday, February 7th, and they said, we received your message. We understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay. And many of us sat and said, that sounds like they believe Nancy's no longer alive. Return our mother to us so we can celebrate with her.
Okay, let's get into the part about where they comment that it sounds potentially like a female writer, because who apologizes more, men or women? Let's listen in. Okay, I was looking in my apologies. I thought it was this interview where they comment about who would apologize? Who would apologize? But clearly here, this was why something happened and they got a message saying she's no longer alive, because the first ransom note response is, we will pay, but we need proof of life in today's day and age. And then the second one was, oh, we understand. And so the second, presumably the second ransom note presumably said, well, she's passed on, and so hence we're not paying. Was that the declaration of death needed by the A&T team? That was the declaration of death needed? What do you think? Now I'm going to move. Let's show you part of Ashley Banfield's interview with Harvey Levin, rather. Let's watch that. Before I play parts of this interview, I want to first say that I think I judged too quickly yesterday because I've been going over this video again when I stated that there was no blood on the porch. I originally had said just don't think you can see it with the flashlight, but I do believe, having reviewed it again yesterday, that I misstated when I said, hey, one of you commented that when he first comes up, there's no blood on the porch. And I said, oh, you're right. I want to recorrect that to my original thought, because if we watch this, I think you can see it's just hard to see in the dark.
For the Guthrie family made another desperate plea for information about their missing 84-year-old mother. The FBI has released
right there. Right there. You can see he's stepping on the mat, but along the line there's splatter. There looks like something in the grooves in the grout of the tile. I just think it's at the very bottom of the screen. Let me make myself smaller so you can see right in here on the far left. I think where, there is blood splatter there. So I'm going to redirect myself to, I just think we can't see it because it's the dark in there. But there is some shading. So I think the sequence is the blood was there before he comes up on the step. And then he grabs the flowers that drop into the blood. So I do believe the blood was there when he walks up. Now that I've recorrected my statement, which is important, let's watch some of this interview with Ashley Banfield. And again, weaving together the fact that we've seen Annie and Tomato with some boxes at the house, removing them. I looked for that video. I wasn't able to find it, but I know Chris showed it on the interview room. I wish I'd clipped a picture of it. And we just heard him state it earlier on. So I believe that the second note was intended to show proof of death, hence what we're seeing now. And now you add Nancy Grace's reporting yesterday that they didn't even investigate or search inside the garage. And then we see Annie and Tomato removing boxes. Are they removing evidence? What do you think? I mean, are they getting ready to move in? Or are they getting ready to sell the house? I guess time will tell. But I think I was right all along in my theory. And let's watch this. Let's watch this now together.
Now here's my conversation with Harvey Levin. So Harvey, more activity, more communications from these alleged ransom seekers.
Well, this is somebody, we've gotten more than a half dozen emails from this person. This is somebody who says they know who the kidnappers are, plural, and where Nancy Guthrie is. We haven't heard from this person in almost a month, but today we got 2 notes from him.
2 notes.
And, he is persisting. Now he wants half a Bitcoin and he will divulge the location. Now, he says that she is in Sonoma. Let me just
Sonora.
check. Sonora,
Yeah.
Mexico. And says she is dead, but says that he can lead them to the kidnapper. And so, he said this before, but, he is kind of repeating what he told us early on, which is she was no longer alive as of the Wednesday after she was kidnapped.
And the interesting thing is you have turned all of these communications over to the FBI.
Yep.
They won't tell you, they won't tell anybody what they do with them. But I mean, you're privy to the Bitcoin wallet.
Yeah. And so far, no money has been deposited. And look, I've talked to the FBI and I've frankly said to them, look, I'm not you, and you clearly know a heck of a lot more than me, but my spidey senses are just telling me something about this guy, because they asked me a long time ago to put the word out, which we did, that anybody who is, doing this as a hoax to get money would be prosecuted by the federal government. And this person wrote back and said, I understand that. I am not in any way hoaxing. This is real. And then the other thing that just got me was, I believe it was the Tuesday after Nancy Guthrie was kidnapped. He sent us this note saying, I know where she is. I know who the kidnappers are. Time is of the essence. That was on a Tuesday. On Wednesday, we got another note from the same person, but said, time is no longer of the essence, meaning, I think, she is no longer alive, right? Well, if somebody is carrying out a hoax, why would they take the immediacy away and say she's no longer alive? That made it feel to me like there's something legit, because why would he take away the incentive to get the money fast?
Or take
And
away the incentive for a bigger payout.
It's just bugged me that there's something about it that I just thought I took more seriously. They have very consciously looked at this. They've tried to find out who this is, but they are not convinced enough to pay that money. And I know that as of a conversation I had with the FBI today.
And so, to be clear, because I think a lot of people are getting confused about all the different ransom notes, Savannah herself made a comment to Hoda Kotb saying, the 2 ransom notes we received, I tend to believe they're real. Those are the ones that originally came to you, correct? And KVOA and I think another Tucson local station?
Yeah. So there are 2 different things we're talking about. These notes that I've just mentioned are people, not somebody who was a kidnapper, somebody who says he knows where the kidnapper is and where Nancy is. The ransom notes you're referring to, yes, there were 2. They were written by the same person. We know that because it has the same Bitcoin address in both. We received the first one along with 2 Tucson stations, the local stations. The second one was sent to just one local station, their K-Gun, but it's from the same person. I know that the FBI believes that those ransom notes are real, that is from the kidnapper. They have done everything they can, from what I understand, to figure out who sent these notes. They were on with my IT team for hours and hours and hours, working with my IT team, and they came up dry. And they could not find it, and they still haven't found out who wrote it. This is a cold case, and they're just waiting for one of those breaks that often comes, but they are at a dead end right now.
Wow, they are in a dead end right now. And they believe, although not necessarily do they believe these clumps of notes, the second pile of notes that claim this person knows where she is, they do believe in the first 2 notes because Harvey just spoke with them, and he has been speaking with them in depth when they've received these notes. And yet the second note, the first note, Savannah went on and said, we will pay, but we need proof of life. And then after the second note, they didn't pay. And it was more like, we understand now, but we want her body back because that's the only way we're going to have peace. Who wrote the notes? Who was in control of the dialogue, both on the family side and the kidnapper side? I'll let you piece that together because, well, by the end of this video, you should already know what my thinking is. You should already know what my thinking is. And I hope and pray that these people are caught. I hope that they're not caught. The really sad part is, as Nancy Grace reported, they didn't even check inside the garage for evidence. They took out Nancy's car, and yet we see boxes being removed. I hope that wasn't evidence. Love and light, everybody. We will see you possibly later, if not for sure, tomorrow morning. And thank you to all the new subscribers. I really appreciate you being here. And I appreciate all of you tried and true loyal fans that have been here with me from the beginning and everybody in between. Love and light.